welcome back to the Inspiration Station where stories spark action. I'm your host, Mr. U. Wherever you are and however you're watching this show, thanks for making us part of your week. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, you can find all of our shows on all social media channels and podcast listening platforms. Thanks for making us part of your week. In studio with us, former Silicon Valley CEO, author, and speaker, Nancy Deyo is with us. Nancy, so good to see you. How are you?
Good, Mr. U. Great to be here.
All right, can't wait for our convo. So many fun things to talk to you about. I don't even know where to start. Let's just start with the story that we discussed offline. You originally moved from San Francisco to New Mexico. Is there a story there? This is the Inspiration Station, so maybe it's going to be inspiring, but help us understand why you decided to make that move. That sounds crazy.
San Francisco was home for 30 years, and it was the place where everything was happening in my career. It was the place where I became a Silicon Valley CEO, where I pushed and tried to outrun and outlast all the men I was competing against at the time. And it was a really vibrant, wonderful town that I loved living in. But after my injury on Mount Kilimanjaro, which we'll talk about, and 15 years of being bedbound with chronic pain and addicted to opioids, I needed a fresh start when I actually found my way back to health. So this is a place with a lot of land and space and sky and good energy and a very relaxed vibe. And it's now a good place I can call home. But San Francisco will always be special to me.
And you also mentioned desert, which is the part that I get stuck on.
It's the high desert. We're at 7,500 feet here in Santa Fe. And so you've got the desert, but you're high in the mountains. So it's a really beautiful place.
Wow. Is there a myth that you can bust about New Mexico? Because right now the visual I have for it is just you're in the desert and that's what's happening. Is there something else that we need to know that we don't know about New Mexico? Because maybe...
You mean besides that it's in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be educated. Help us out.
Yeah, it is actually one of the biggest art and creativity centers in the country. I think it's number 3 behind New York and LA. So it's got a lot of really creative people going for it, a lot of writers and poets and painters and sculptors and a lot of live music, which is a big surprise for a little town like this. So it really lifts above its weight.
I think the cuisine is probably fantastic as well, too, but we might not have time to get into that. But that's just for me, I guess. But, okay, so I know that Kilimanjaro, just on its face, represents a huge personal challenge. I guess my question for you, Nancy, is why'd you decide to start that? Before we even get into what happened, why'd you decide that, you know what, this is a mountain theoretically and figuratively that I want to climb? Why'd you decide to do that?
Well, Kilimanjaro for me was more than just a big endurance test. It is the highest mountain in Africa, standing higher than 19,000 feet. And it's one of the 7 summits, which are the highest mountains on all the continents. And I decided that I had to climb it after my Silicon Valley business ran out of cash. And I ended up having to sell to my arch rival that was like killing me and the death of me. So that was a brutal, brutal experience and something that I actually considered to be a failure despite selling the company. And so I went to Kilimanjaro as kind of redemption to prove that I could do something really significant. And because I was an athlete growing up, I figured I could take the mountain and I could be successful. But, I got up to 16,000 feet. I really had no business climbing the mountain because I was already injured before I even started. I had really strained my spine working out when I was training. But again, athletes, you just push the pain down and keep going. And so I thought, I can do this. I have to do this. I need to do this for myself to prove I can be successful. And the first day they took my pack away from me because I couldn't stand the weight on my spine. And the second day and third day, I was having trouble sitting. And the next couple of days, the team created this back brace by wrapping me in duct tape and sticking an inflatable pillow in my back to try to hold me together. And at 16,000 feet, I knew I was in trouble. And my husband was urged by me to summit. And I said, I'll go down with 2 porters who were great guys, but they were Tanzanian, which meant they only spoke Swahili. And my Swahili is like as good as saying asante sana, which means thank you, which doesn't have anything to do with pain. So we got going, the three of us, and I collapsed in the dirt, and they had to carry me over to make camp on the edge of the mountain. And I just passed out, and I woke up at midnight, and I couldn't move my legs. And it just felt like somebody had driven a steel rod through my spine. And I thought, oh my God, I'm bleeding out. I'm going to die here on the side of this mountain and end up with my name on a rock, like so many other climbers who don't make it down.
Oh.
But the other thought I had, Mr. Yu, was that my whole life I had succeeded because I had pushed hard and pushed through everything, and I could persist at all costs. But all of a sudden that method was really not working for me. And you would think that I would learn my lesson in that life and death moment, but I didn't, of course. And it took me 15 years to figure out what resilience really was about. And that for me, it was going to be about finding a totally different way to live.
So many places to go. I don't know where to start. But so I want to get your perspective, because there are people who are watching, listening, that I'm positive, because I know some people who are definitely followers of our show, people who are actually friends and family members, and I understand a lot about how they view success. Back in a time when I would imagine that you were the CEO of Silicon Valley, that was the height of his success. I mean, you hear about it was a weekly story at ABC News almost every night. It was very, 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 very lucrative, I guess, for some people. So you know the height of success. To take that risk to climb Kilimanjaro, I'm pretty sure maybe perhaps you were trying to reignite a fire in that regard. What are your thoughts now, especially as you're speaking to our audience? What are your thoughts now about what success looks like? Had that changed because of that, or because of any incidents since then, that you see success differently than you did when you were chasing in Silicon Valley and fighting off rivals and looking for relevance, and then trying to climb Kilimanjaro?
That's such a great question. Success to me used to be about achieving the insurmountable goals, raising the next round of funding, taking the company public, doing all those things that were associated with my professional life. And that was the way that I was completely defined. I mean, I was a wife and a daughter and a community member and all those things, but they took a second backseat to the success that I was chasing after as a CEO. And now it's so different. I mean, success is a different life. It's a life that's filled with people that I really care about, who are the friends and family that matter. It's a calmer life. I'm not competing against anybody except maybe myself, and that will probably never stop. But it has a completely different frame that's more about my place in the world than it was in my place in Silicon Valley.
Now, there's a part of your story, and I don't know how much that you want to get into, but there's a part of your story where you had to deal with being misdiagnosed. I mean, when you're in pain and you're suffering, you want answers as quick as you can get them. And any kind of delays to that is probably nerve-wracking, excruciating, annoying, whatever adjective you want to use. At what point did you realize that medicine wasn't something you can trust in to help you?
The first 6 months were pretty brutal. I was told by doctors in Nairobi and in London, and then back in my hometown in San Francisco, that I was going to be fine. The first doc said you need bed rest. The second one said you need physical therapy. The third one gave me OxyContin and sent me home. And I still remember the day that my hometown doctor walked into the hospital room with a bunch of test results in his hand. And I'm laying in the bed and I'm in so much pain that I haven't been able to get up in days. So my husband's on one side of me and there's a commode on the other because I can't make it to the bathroom. I'm so weak. And he says, Nancy, I have great news. You are going to be fine. And I'm going to send you home. And when you have doctors telling you that you're okay, and you know in your body, in your mind that you are not, it creates this huge disconnect. And I felt like I was somehow being disbelieved, I guess. And that's a horrible feeling because it creates this internal split where you start to question yourself and you wonder, is this in my head? Is this real? I grew up as a doctor's daughter, so I trusted the medical system. You know, the hospital, the doctor was the first place I went when something really ailed me, and I expected them to be able to solve the problem. And you know, this was the first 6 months when they finally discovered that I needed major surgery. But years
Wow.
later, when the pain was persistent and went far beyond the structural fixing of my body, I lost a lot of trust in them when they ran out of plays in their playbook and had really nothing more to offer me.
This question may be off the mark, but this is what I do on all of my shows. I say what's on my mind. When you mentioned about how you feel like you're being disbelieved, was there any part of you that was like, oh, this is just, you know, they see me as an irrational woman and they don't think I don't know what I'm talking about? Did you ever have that feeling? Because it's hard for my mind not to go there the way they kind of all these royal doctors look like a big parade telling you you're fine and you feel excruciating pain. Did you ever feel like that was part of why they responded the way they did? Or was it a thought in your mind or none of those?
Yes, it was in my mind. And I'll tell you a story in a second about what happened to me, even more specifically than that.
Okay.
But there's a lot of research that when men and women come to a doctor and they present with the same pain symptoms, the men are often prescribed painkillers because they're in trouble. And the women are prescribed anti-anxiety meds and they are referred to psych. So this happened to me after my first surgery. It was 6 weeks after the operation, and I went in for a post-op visit, and the surgeon came in and he said, "Oh, I just looked at your films. I have to say my surgery was really flawless, and I'm just thrilled for you." And I had like 14 pieces of titanium holding my spine together. And as you can imagine, that feels horrible. And I said, "I'm so miserable. I'm like 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. I need you to help me. You need to help me do something to manage this pain." And he looked at me and he looked me in the eye and he said, "You seem really anxious. I think you need to see a psychiatrist." And I went home with a prescription for Ativan, which is a really powerful anti-anxiety med, scary powerful, actually, and very addictive, and a referral to find a psychiatrist. And the hard part about that is once your diagnosis includes the words anxious or depressed, that once that's in your medical record, it follows you everywhere you go, and it makes it harder to get the treatment that you need. So yes, that was my story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Oh, if only we had enough time for all the questions that I have in my mind right now. But one of the things I'd love to ask you, and this is because, well, one, this helps me as a high performance coach to kind of understand some things about the human condition. But also, I know a lot of people who are watching and listening who operate on that level. They're the A types. They push through, they push down the pain, like I think like you mentioned earlier. What about the mindset that you had being a high performer that has changed because of what you've gone through? Some people, some people don't learn, and I don't mean that you had to learn a lesson. Please don't misunderstand me. But some people don't change behavior. They don't change disciplines and strategy. They kind of just, once things are better, they go back to where they were at before things were not good. So is there something about you as a former high performer that has changed that you had to alter because of what you've gone through, or a new perspective you got on high performance and how to treat your body, treat your mind, etc.? Was there any changes there?
Yes, I was the ultimate high performing push through person. And I had to hit rock bottom before I
Mm.
realized that my mindset had to completely change and that I had to think about what pushing through was doing to my body. And it actually was causing me harm. I was getting sicker because I was pushing so hard. And I realized that after I went to the Mayo Clinic for a drug detox and pain rehab program where they rip the drugs away and then they force you to sit and walk and do activities of daily living and things that I couldn't do because I had to spend my whole life lying down at that point. I really
Mm.
couldn't get out of bed. And no sooner did I get home than I landed in the hospital on a higher dose opioids than ever before. And when the doctor said, we just have nothing more for you, there's just nothing wrong here beyond your pain, which we'll try to help you with, but you've got to go home. I thought, A, the medical system doesn't have anything more for me. They've done their best. B, I'm on my own. C, this pushing through is hurting me. I got to change what I'm doing. I've got to start to adapt. And I went through a huge shift over the course. It took several years of just accepting my limitations, which at the time were being able to sit and stand and walk around like normal people. I had to do everything lying down. So I focused instead, like, what can I do? What can I still do? I could still think. My brain was still good. So let me activate that part of my person and deal with the fact that I have to do it lying down. And I actually went back to graduate school lying down on an army cot so that I could still use my brain, even though my body wasn't functioning. So it was a huge, huge mindset change, like a 360.
Oh, absolutely. I can detect that. Just a couple more questions for you, if we can. Uh, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being super concerned and one not so much, obviously. How would you rate how your family feels about where you are right now on a level of concern for you physically and emotionally?
Um, they have no concern. I mean, my parents sadly have passed, but I was well again by the time they did, so they got to see me
Oh,
healthy
okay.
again, which is I'm so thankful for. My husband's biggest concern is that some of the old habits are going to come creeping back, and I'm going to start pushing too hard because I'm a type A
That's
high
why I asked that
achiever.
question. That's why I asked that.
Yeah, it's hard to shake those things because those things are ingrained. They were ingrained in me from when I was a little kid. But I work hard to try to navigate that because I still need to navigate my body and, listen to it because it's going to tell me the truth.
I love it. I want to put your Substack back on the screen for those that are listening to us but not watching us. If you can get the replay, so you can see it on the screen, that's fine. But it'll be in the show notes, also in the comment section as well. NancyDeyo.substack.com. I'm sure you can reach out to her there, ask her some questions about her life, her memoirs, or anything you may have a question about regarding what she's done, or if you want her as a professional speaker at your next event. I'm sure she'd be open to do that. So NancyDeyo.substack.com is going to be in the chat and in the comment section and in the show notes as well. All right, final question for you, Nancy, then we can go ahead and close the broadcast out for today. Think about this really hard, and after you're done, you can let folks know where they can find you outside of your Substack. Because of what you've gone through, I feel as though, and this is not me casting aspersions, I just feel like at this point, there had to be some new perspective for you to experience all of the many highs and the many lows that you've experienced, to have some kind of perspective on life that's different than what you had pre the situation, pre Silicon Valley, pre Kilimanjaro. What does a meaningful life look like for you at this stage of your life with all these things taken into account?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not being a CEO. That's not
Fair
meaningful
enough.
to me anymore.
Fair enough.
I have no interest in doing that again. I'm actually going back to Tanzania this summer, and I have no interest in climbing Kilimanjaro to try to
Okay,
summit again
that was my next
either.
question. Please don't do that. Okay.
But a meaningful life is trying to pay it forward, everything that I've experienced, in the hope that somebody else is going to feel heard and seen and maybe take a couple of insights from our conversation today and figure out how they can navigate life's disruptions a little differently.
Wow. Well, I got to change how I announce you from now on. Former Silicon Valley CEO, former mountain climber, professional speaker, and author. Your forthcoming memoir is called Perilous Ascent. Is that right?
That's right.
Wow, you are incredible. Honored to have met you today and had this conversation with you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. And by the way, if people want to get in touch with me, they can also get in touch through my website, which is just nancydeyo.com.
nancydeyo.com. All right. DEYO for you guys that are jotting that down. nancydeyo.com. DEYO. Thank you, Nancy, for your time, for being here. You made our show better, and I know somebody had to be inspired. I know I am. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
That's Nancy Deyo. I'm Mr. U. Thanks for watching The Inspiration Station or listening to The Inspiration Station, where stories spark action. Now it's time to act. Have a great day.